So importantly, the reason why we're here in the Dandenong Ranges and for a pretty significant announcement, not just for the hills, but for all of the areas that were impacted so severely by the storms. Some significant announcements today. Really unprecedented damage. I live up here and lived in this region my whole life. I've never seen the extent of the damage here in the Dandenong Ranges. I was at Traralgon several days ago with the Minister and the Commissioner in terms of the flooding, speaking to my colleague, and the damage out in Trentham and other parts of the state. This is very much unprecedented, and I've never seen anything like the extent of the damage. And as the Chief Officer of the SES said, it is tree carnage, and that is exactly what we are seeing here in the Dandenongs. My thanks and gratitude to everyone who's been involved in the emergency response and in the recovery and relief efforts. I heard extraordinary stories from our wonderful SES volunteers. So to the SES, the CFA, all our emergency services workers, to the Red Cross, to the Shire of Yarra Rangers here in the hills, to all local governments right across the state, to everyone involved in recovery and relief, my thanks to you. We have currently around 7,000 households without power, and as residents were advised yesterday, there may well be many thousands without power well into July. So the figure of July 10 was advised yesterday. You know, the depth of winter and weeks without power. This is an unprecedented emergency. Our current disaster recovery funding arrangements with the Commonwealth don't right now cover the situation we're in. So the one-off hardship payments, we've already got the re-establishment grants, but in terms of households without power for weeks, the current disaster recovery arrangements between state and federal governments do not cover. So we need to move swiftly to make an additional announcement, and that's what I'm doing here today. So we're announcing a prolonged power outage payment, and this will be a payment of up to $1,680 per week. So a prolonged outage payment of $1,680. That's reflective of the one-off hardship payments. So that's around $560 or $580 per adult. And then payments for children. So it's up to $1,680. This will be eligible to all households that are without power from the 17th of June. I had a discussion with the Acting Prime Minister this morning, a very positive discussion with the Acting Prime Minister, and a formal request for co-payment. This will be under Category D of our disaster recovery arrangements with the federal government. So this will be a new payment. We're asking the federal government to go 50-50 on this. The Acting Prime Minister was very positive, and as I said, a formal request has been put through. A couple of other things I want to mention in addition to this payment. So this will go towards whether it's basic supplies or whether it's to help support people find alternative accommodation off the hill as power is restored over coming weeks. In addition to that, I'm also announcing that Bushfire Recovery Victoria will take the lead in terms of supporting and coordinating the cleanup and the recovery. I had a long discussion with the CEO of Yarra Rangers Council. This cleanup and elsewhere around the state is beyond the reach of any local government. You know, we've got tree debris that would fill the MCG here in the Dandenongs. We've got massive trees lying all over the place. We need to get all of that support coordinated. So that would be Forest Fire Management, AusNet, Department of Transport. My discussion with the Acting Prime Minister this morning was a request for ADF support. Now, the initial request is for logistical and planning support, but there will be further requests of the ADF for support on the ground. And Commissioner Crisp can go to this in more detail in terms of the answers. It's about assessment of the damage, and then where do we need to get the support to do the clean-up and recovery. But as I said, Bushfire Recovery Victoria, vast experience in terms of clean-up after bushfires, will be responsible for the coordination of all of this work. I've mentioned the ADF support. The final thing I want to talk about is separate to the support and the recovery here in the Dandenongs and elsewhere. It's in regards to the Yallourn power station and the mine and the risk of flooding in that region.